For many of us, we've had that one person, whether a celebrity or someone we knew personally, who we believed was the pinnacle of health. But is that actually the case? Sadly, many of the health influencers, bodybuilders, and traditionally attractive people in our lives have or develop some sort of eating disorder. This is because of how much their life revolves around maintaining their body, which can be a slippery slope to developing food consumption issues. This may show up in the form of anorexia, bulimia, avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, binge eating, and more. Yet this doesn't answer the question of what to do with this concerning information. Eating disorders have existed for generations. So today we'll be talking about the steps to solve this highly dangerous disorder. To start, we'll look at the problems that arise from eating disorders. Then we'll describe why this problem continues to exist. And finally, we'll talk about solutions towards healthier eating habits. To begin, we'll look at the problems commonly seen with eating disorders, including the physical toll, mental effects, and financial burden. One of the most dangerous parts of eating disorders is the numerous physical effects, many of which can be life-threatening. National Institute of Mental Health 2024 describes that some symptoms of eating disorders can range from thinning bones, mild anemia, delayed puberty, low blood pressure, brain damage, obesity, cardiovascular problems, diabetes, malnutrition, acid reflux disorder, and even death. This is made all the worse as these symptoms don't even cover the full list of harmful bodily effects one may face. Another issue with eating disorders is the high mental burden that comes along with not eating properly. Johns Hopkins Medicine, December 21st, 2020, describes how eating disorders can result in social isolation, loneliness, depression, significant anxiety, withdrawal, and suicidal ideation in both children and adults. This results in the person experiencing the disorder losing important relationships, leading to no support system, eventually resulting in complete isolation. Another surprising problem with eating disorders is the financial burden that comes along with them. Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, June 2020, reports that from 2018 to 2019, $64.7 billion was associated with eating disorders. Among these findings, it was shown that an average of $11,808 was spent on the 28.8 million Americans who had eating disorders. This explains how much eating disorders affect just the US economy and how detrimental they can be to society as a whole. As we can tell today, eating disorders are bad for everybody, so the question remains of why they continue. The three main causes of this persistent disorder are the media's effect on body image, the genetics and nurture of a family who have experience with eating disorders, and the underlying mental health issues. One of the biggest influencing factors of eating disorders is how the media portrays what a healthy body looks like. National Eating Disorders Association 2024 explains that social media, television, advertisements, and more tend to promote a certain body type, which then becomes ingrained into culture, becoming a social standard. This is commonly seen nowadays as being thin for women and being muscular for men, which tells our brains that if we don't match the standard, we must be made wrong, and steps must be taken to fix this, usually through eating and exercising. Another large factor in developing unhealthy eating is our genes and environment. The Renfree Center 2022 describes that eating disorders can be inherited through family lines, but are triggered by interactions in our environment. For instance, a mom passes down a gene to her daughter that makes her more likely to develop anorexia, which would then be activated by the mother talking about her daughter's eating habits negatively. This has continued to be passed down to many families, causing a dangerous generational cycle to appear. Moreover, another factor is due to a common misconception that people only develop mental health issues after they've gotten an eating disorder. Mayo Clinic, May 2024, describes how trauma, anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and other mental health issues increase the likelihood of an eating disorder becoming developed. This is due to a person feeling they lack control in some other area of their life, so they seek control through what they consume. Now that we have knowledge about why eating disorders are so prevalent, we can address the solutions to deal with this distressing issue. Solutions for this crisis are achievable and require us to promote body neutrality, teach intuitive eating within family systems, and advocate for policies surrounding mental health management. To start, we must address something controversial. Body positivity is toxic. Time magazine, May 12, 2023, describes how body positivity puts the responsibility on the individual to figure out how to love themselves without any guidance, while body neutrality puts the responsibility on society to change its tune. Body neutrality's main concept is that our bodies are the least important thing about us. We should take care and nurture it, but at the end of the day, it has no effect on our worth. This will help take focus away from the physical appearance and recenter it on internal value. Another factor that greatly affects eating disorders is how we look at food, which is why intuitive eating is a great solution for families who struggle with eating disorders. British Heart Foundation, May 21st, 2018, describes intuitive eating as making peace with food, rejecting dieting, and accepting that no food is good or bad. This will create leaps and bounds for families who have too much or too little control over food, as it makes food a friend rather than an enemy. A third and final solution to this crisis is teaching people how to advocate for policies surrounding the treatment and awareness of mental health. Butler Hospital, March 29th, 2024, explains that having public support for policies that integrate mental health with primary care and better mental health coverage will allow for better mental health treatment and identification to be addressed sooner and healthier. This will allow for those with underlying conditions to get treated before their struggles turn into an eating disorder. So, as an overview, we described the dangerous side effects caused by eating disorders. Then we described why these disorders are still a struggle to this day. And finally, we looked at the possible solutions to this massive problem. This is the time to act against the epidemic of eating disorders, so we learn how to properly care for our bodies and protect future generations. All in all, remember that even the most admired people in our lives may have some issues lurking beneath the surface. So make sure to check on them and give them advice if they're ready for it. And if not, that's okay too. Just continue to be there for them. And recommend that they visit the National Eating Disorders Association website for more information when they're ready.